U.S. war plans leaked on the Signal app. Trump administration says there's nothing to see here. What say you? I think this is a serious issue. Doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on politically, whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, or somewhere else in between. This is not a partisan issue. As I see it more as a national security issue. But like always, I'm not going to leave this to my own legal understanding. I'm going to bring in Attorney Gerald Griggs, who's going to help us figure out what's going on with this issue and more. Someone from higher up allowed this chain to go out on the Signal app out of all. And I know that the app is supposedly encrypted and all of that. But as you know, and China, Russia, they can hack those apps at any point. So what say you on this whole situation?
Yeah, so finding out that a journalist was invited into a very sensitive Signal communication thread with the vice president, with the defense secretary, and several others shows a grave lapse in judgment and the need to shore up our national security apparatus. My first question is, why are y'all communicating on any type of app that's not run directly by the federal government so that we can have the right, security protections on this communication? Now, I'm not saying they shouldn't come into the new reality of technology, but you should have more protections. And then to allow a journalist in to see the war plans shows a grave lapse in judgment, which comes with not vetting these individuals who are now at the highest level of clearance. So it's very concerning. And it goes to show that maybe we're moving a little too quickly in this administration with the inclusion of people who may not be otherwise qualified for their positions.
Qualification is a big thing. And I don't want to make this a partisan issue because, in my opinion, this is a national security issue. So regardless of what side of the fence you sit on, anyone should be concerned about the fact that this type of information got in the hands of a journalist. What about if someone else that we don't know about has access to this file or these files? This is very concerning on a lot of levels, man.
Yeah, very concerning, because if they sent this out to a journalist not knowing that he was a journalist, who else was engaged in this text communication on the Signal app that they still don't know about?
Right.
And then, of course, who may be surveilling his phone or anybody else's phone? So this brings a lot of issues into question. I think there needs to be a congressional investigation to get to the bottom of what actually happened and, what sensitive information was leaked, and if it violates any potential federal laws. Because, again, there are laws in place. My confidence in the Attorney General investigating this is very slim. But I think that we as the American people should demand more accountability for the lapse of judgment here. Regardless of your political ideology, if this happened under a Democratic president, I think there would be calls for more transparency and then ultimately accountability. But given that it happened under a Republican administration who prided itself on having the best people in these positions, shows that the vetting process is flawed. This is gravely concerning for the security of our nation. I mean, if you are planning to attack another entity and you're leaking the plans to the press, I mean, that kind of takes away all hope of, surprise or, military strategy. So I'm concerned that this is the level of engagement we're having at the highest level. We may want to rethink that.
Those of us who are in this industry or know a lot about how politics works, especially as it relates to classified communications, they're usually in a SCIF, right? They're usually in a room that requires them to leave their personal devices, cell phones included, outside of that room. And then there are secure communications amongst the cabinet, senior officials, and then they transmit their communications that way.
Hearing this, and again, the administration trying to downplay this and villainize the other when the guy was clearly invited into the Signal chat, shows the level of lack of responsibility happening at the highest level. And so I hope that this is a wake-up call for the community and for the people to see that there needs to be more oversight in this administration about the handling of classified documents and handling of classified conversations.
Now, from a legal aspect, what laws do you see that might have been broken, or any legal proceedings against the person who allegedly leaked this or put this out there? What type of legal exposure might they be looking at right now?
Well, there are all sorts of federal crimes for dissemination of classified documents and classified information, but that will be up to the FBI and the Department of Justice to pursue that. And again, given the position that the Attorney General has taken in many situations in the last few months, I don't know if that's going to happen. So, I mean, there is liability there, but what the president could do to remove that is to unclassify the documents, and then you don't really have an issue. Or the conversation about whatever documents they were talking about or whatever action they were taking. But I just think that it's very concerning that we learn of this through a reporter who was invited into a Signal chat. And my question is, if the vice president is using Signal, does that mean the president is using as well, and why? Because again, just because it says it's a secured, encrypted app, it's available on the Apple Store and on Google Play. I mean, we don't need to have access to the same type of technology that they're using. Exactly. So it's very concerning. We're in a very bad situation, and I think the people should have been most worried when the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court came out with an unprecedented statement about the attack on the judiciary. So the proper way to disagree with a judge is to appeal, not to impeach. And so I think that it's showing that the American people need to take a strong, hard look on what's happening. We are barely into the second month, almost third month of this presidency. We've seen all kinds of problems that have happened, from the termination of workers who worked in the nuclear preparation department to the firing of CDC staffers and having to rehire them because we don't have people with the expertise to do their job. We're seeing a haphazard rollout of this administration's agenda that's only going to cause more problems. And now to see they're so sloppy that they've invited a reporter into a Signal chat with sensitive military, orders and military tactics and potentially classified information just underscores the public needs to take a long, hard look at this. And our members need to exercise their oversight powers to prevent this kind of stuff from happening.
I didn't think this was real when I first heard about it.
I didn't either as well until mainstream news outlets and of course trusted sources on the internet, and then of course when the White House sort of kind of confirmed it, then I got very concerned about what's happening in real time, and hopefully the adults in the room will come to the front and get to the bottom of what happened.